and growth of Osun. His vast experience in strategic management, both locally and internationally, and his proven track record in driving organizational success make him the ideal individual to address this critical subject. His insight and expertise will undoubtedly provide valuable perspectives on harnessing the immense potentials and opportunities for the development and growth of Osun State. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our keynote speaker today, Dr. Sheye Oyeleye.
I know I've been allotted a time, and if anyone has to be time conscious, actually Sheye, because I don't live in Lagos. I came from far away, and I'll be going back there tonight. So I should be time conscious. But before I start my paper, and I have a paper prepared, I'd like to say that a few words. So let me be informal before I go formal. When Egbon Jide Olugbodi approached me on WhatsApp to thank me for attending his birthday a few weeks ago, I didn't know that he had something else to drop in that WhatsApp message. So he said, Esheo Eku Dide Ojo, are you available on XYZ date? And I said, yes. Oh, you'll be speaking as the keynote speaker at ODA. I said, yes. So I dropped the phone. The next morning I woke up, I said, Kilo Kuresi, no? Because I'm a member of ODA as well, and I know the caliber of people in ODA. So I asked myself, Kilo Kuresi. So when I was preparing my paper, I tend to work with my team. I kept telling them, whoa, I want to unlock Basorombe. One more Jualo, so we must be very prepared. But I'll do my best to speak to the topic. Again, permit me to still be slightly informal. When I saw Baba Julius Adelui when he came up to pick the microphone, I am immensely grateful to the organizers that I didn't have to speak after him. Because one of my friends would say, Baba Yamansu Ibu Wafe Manuela. So I was telling myself that hopefully I don't have to speak after him. So my own diction will not show up. And, my memories of Prince Adelusi was Julie Pharmacy. As a young boy who was recently jackpot from UK by his parents with all the taste buds of UK, we took solace in Julie Pharmacy down the road here, from here. I remember then there was Julie Pharmacy, there was Jabita, there was Masco and all the stuff. But I still remember the chocolates. And I would ride my bicycle as a young boy to Julie Pharmacy to get my dose of chocolates. Then on a Saturday, further down to Airport Hotel to swim. Thank you for being there for us. And thank you for still giving to this society. I can also see here Baba Maduka. Now, he won't remember me, of course, there's no way he will. I think I must have been a 7-year-old boy attending Christmas party at then WN TV in Ibadan. My late dad, Engineer Lambo Ambekemo, took me to, of course, Christmas party. And, of course, he was then the head honcho at WN TV that year. It's a pleasure again seeing you, sir. Of course, I met Mama a few times. I still met him at Dr. Olugbodi's birthday. And for Mama Maduka grew up around the same time with my late dad. So she knows my late dad in and out in Elisha in those days. My own dad died very young, so many years ago. He was only 46 when he passed on. So enough of the informality, as I said. I know I have the time, but I want to crave your indulgence. Normally I like to speak to a paper, but on this occasion, I'm actually going to read the paper to save time. And then I promised the media that I would drop it on their platform after. So let me go straight to the paper, and then, as I said, I've craved your indulgence. Once again, I also want to thank Professor Oluwaina Baba. I first met you through my late predecessor, Dipo Famakenwa. Baba as well. Thank you very much, sir. I don't take this privilege for granted at all. Once again, my name is Sheye Oyele. I'm the Director General at Dawn Commission. Dawn stands for Development Agenda for Western Nigeria, based in Cocoa House in Ibadan. It is a great honor and privilege to be here today at this grand reception and honors event, as we gather to celebrate and appreciate the founding members of this distinguished assembly. I am humbled to have been entrusted with the responsibility of delivering the keynote address. It is really a tough job to do at an occasion honoring great personalities, and I hope to do my best. If I succeed, give me a pat on the back. But if I don't, hold Dr. Olubode responsible. Because I'm still wondering the pounded yam-induced dream they had when he told me that I'll be the one to stand before the likes of Prince Ponley, whose MyCom cable became a colossus in the expatriate-dominated businesses of the past, before Chief Abuaba, one of the first people to bring Igbajo to public reckoning, before Engineer Maduka, Nigeria's first female engineer, or Professor Aino, OFR, the carpenter, who became a professor, and before many dignitaries here. I mean, there are so many boardroom gurus here that if you don't know what you're talking about, they will stone you. I'm happy, however, that the honorees who have passed on are cheering me and encouraging me because they have endorsed the message. And I have this noble audience, and I have for this noble audience today a message that I believe will resonate and serve as food for thought. As I'm reading the paper, I'm also referring to myself as a member of ODA. On this note, may I crave your indulgence for a minute's silence in honor of late Chief Benjamin Adigun, late Prince Duro Oyelola, and late Professor Tunde Odetola. May their souls continue to rest in peace, and we pray God's eternal blessings dwell with the people they left behind. Looking at the list of the honorees, it is easy to see that Osun State is blessed with a rich list of high achievers, people who rose to greatness on the launch pad of integrity, commitment, foresight, and hard work. And this is where I want to start my short speech, by challenging this group to make it a priority to nurture and mentor indigents of Osun State to become other high achievers like these esteemed members. I came here to congratulate and celebrate with the honorees. I've been told I have 5 minutes more. Okay. So, I said development is something that resonates deeply with the aspirations and vision of this association. Nurturing young talents that could replicate or even surpass the achievements of our honorees should therefore be a top priority. There is a Joanna out there on the streets of Osogbo, an Alani combing the bush in Igbajo and setting traps for rodents, many Tundes in Ife, many Inolajis in Elisha. If these young people are to answer the surnames of our honorees, how proud would we be of them? We must therefore rise from this occasion and make it a deliberate course of action to make sure these young people become personalities worthy of the seal of respect that our honorees command in society today. Now, Osun State at a glance. I'm having to skip now because I've been told I have 5 minutes, which is practically impossible. Today, as we speak, the debt per capita of Osun State debt per capita is 33,266 naira. This is the amount each resident would have to pay to offset the debt of the state. Note that amount, please, that's 3,266. The state's IGR per capita stands at 5,185 naira. This means the government is able to raise an average of 5,185 from each residence. This suggests that our government has limited ability to raise its own revenue and reduce dependence on federal allocation. The capex, which is capital expenditure per capita, is relatively low, 5,700, which again implies that the state may be struggling to invest adequately in infrastructure and development projects. What picture do we get from this data? It is simply that of a state that is incapable of investing in its own future. In critical infrastructure and development projects that are essential for long-term growth, it also means that the state's capital expenditure is not yet directly improving the living standards of the people. Now, I list below the top 5 highest and bottom 5 lowest revenue of the Osun State government, gleaned from the state sifters report of Q1 2024. Now, high revenue sources: statutory allocation, 29.5 billion. Share of VAT, 45.4 billion. Share of other FAC revenues, 24.2 billion. Independent revenue, 11.1 billion. And motor vehicle licenses, 613 million. Now, the low revenue sources: Capital Development Fund receipts, 12 billion 367. International loans borrowing receipts, again 12 billion 367. No actual revenue is recorded for this source. Rent on government buildings, 367 million. While the projected budget isn't extremely low, the actual performance is 1.4% of the budget. Earnings from tourism, culture, art centers, which really should be huge, here is only 376 million. The report shows no actual earnings from this potentially significant source. Earnings from agricultural produce, 7.9 billion. This projected revenue source also shows zero actual performance in the reports. Now, from the data above, we could see that what brings money into the coffers of Osun State is not productive efforts. A state that relies too heavily on external funding, in this case federal allocation, is like a bird with clipped wings, unable to soar to new heights. Little wonder we have our health and education statistics in a parlor state. Each time we lament about this below par data, I always say it is a case of Amukwerewo. These stark realities paint a picture of Osun State that is both challenging and full of unrealized potential. It is a state that, despite its natural resources, human capital, and rich cultural heritage, continues to grapple with persistent development challenges. And it is our collective responsibility as members of this esteemed ODA to chart a new course, one that transforms these challenges into opportunities for lasting, sustainable progress. Hopefully, you can now see why I asked that you, even in your old age and deserving retirement, to go beyond just donation and philanthropy and give yourself the job of replicating yourselves and the young people of Osun. It is a daunting task that cannot be left to public governance alone. This should be your big, hairy, audacious goal, as it is known in business strategy. My dear elders of Osun State, we must ask ourselves, how can we, as a collective of non-partisan elders, thought leaders, technocrats, and top professionals, drive the transformative change that our beloved state so desperately needs? This is why I titled my speech, Pioneering Progress. We must challenge ourselves to lay the foundation for the sustainable development of Osun State, irrespective of which political party is in power. I always say this, that it's easy to play the game, blame game. Oh, it's Aregbesol's fault. Oh, Oyetola did nothing. Oh, Adeleke is not doing anything. We will have made the blame game a pastime. It can even be therapeutic for some of us who will fall sick if we don't engage in it. This is very easy to do when we gather at our hangouts and relaxation centers. But the world of development is hard. Are we ready to change gear from the easy path of blame to the highway of development where the rubber meets the road? From this picture I painted above, I'm bold to say that the job of a governor like the state of Osun is one of the toughest, and it continues to need serious-minded focus on what needs to be done to lift millions of people from the depths of poverty. A blueprint for Osun's future. Why do we need a development blueprint model? It is very simple. So that we can be able to measure the impact of our interventions and know exactly what and where to improve. As it's often said in management circles, what you cannot measure, you cannot manage. In private chats with many well-meaning elders, there's always a sense of frustration. The more resources they pour into their philanthropic interventions, the more it seems things are getting worse, and the ideal society they envisage remains elusive. But I know that ODA as a group shares this frustration. But at the heart of this is a lack of model upon which such interventions were based, making it difficult to know exactly what parameters to monitor and improve upon. So I gave an example and a metaphor. I called it the Iwo Road as a metaphor of development model. Whether we like it or not, development models are actively shaping our realities in Nigeria, even though we like to think none exist, except the imported ones, as our people in the socialist circle love to say from the IMF and World Bank. But take a journey from Lagos to Ibadan. At Iwo Road, you are confronted with a choice to continue up north or veer inward the region. If you are making a decision based on how good the roads are, many of us will choose to go up north. I like to think that our roads are a metaphor for Nigeria's development model. Take any decade and consider the road development projects within it. You are likely to come to the conclusion that over the years, the north-south roads fared better, while the roads connecting within the regions keep getting worse. That tells us that we have not significantly moved away from the economic model that the colonialists established for moving goods from north to the south. If we open up the socio-political and economic impacts of this model, I'm sure we'll arrive at the state of development we have found ourselves in Nigeria. Along that road lies a bus stop known for atomization of regions into states in a manner that makes them dependent on the benevolence of the federal government. I'm sure you're already thinking of other bus stops that lead to Nigeria's present state of affairs. They all started from that north-south model of organizing the geographical space called Nigeria. And as a digression, that is why I'm an advocate of the Lagos-Calabar Road project, because it is the first major infrastructure that moved away from the colonial economic model. So going back to the Iwo Road development model, permit me to show my bias at this juncture, as I have no other product to sell other than regional integration. So for instance, if you are planning to organize a secondary school debate that allows students of Osun State to compete against one another, let them compete with their peers in the region. Because of my time, I'm trying to abridge some stuff. So if you look at the road that starts from Ibadan and goes through Ilesha all the way to the Akure Junction, I think that Osun and the governor of Osun should be the one leading the other governors to say that, Mr. President, we have private investors who are willing to take over Ibadan or Ilesha Akure Road, privatize it, turn it into 4 lanes. Don't wait for the federal government. Osun, the longest part of that road is in Osun State. It is like Lagos-Ibadan Road. The longest part is in Ogun. So, His Excellency should be the one leading that pressure on Mr. President in Abuja that, look, this is a major arterial road. It passes through 4 states in Southwest. The road is in a silly condition, to use a mild language. Why can't Osun be the one leading that process to say, I can assure you, sir, there are investors who will take up that road. In fact, I know people who turned up at my office and said, we are ready to do that road from Iwo Road all the way to Akure Airport, 4 lanes, 2 lanes on either side. It is doable. It only needs political will. That is one of the ways Osun can keep open up. Because if you are traveling from Lagos, by the time you get to Ibadan, beautiful road now, and you're now going to Osun State, the road leaves much to be desired. Now, so I'm skipping a few things. I said how to harness the potentials of Osun State. There is a consensus that Osun State has the potential for commercial agriculture, agro-allied industries, tourism, and mining. Where there is a big lacuna is how to begin to harness these resources and use them to chart a path to prosperity for the state and its people. For this, I'm going to recommend the business strategy known as the RBT, resource-based theory. The RBT is a strategic management tool that focuses on the internal resources of an organization as the key determinants of competitive advantage and performance. The core idea of RBT is that organizations can achieve and sustain competitive advantage by developing and deploying valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable resources and capabilities. RBT emphasizes that a firm's internal resources and capabilities, rather than its external market position, are the primary determinants of performance. Let me now skip. How can RBT help ODA to achieve its aspiration? ODA must start by identifying and understanding Osun State's valuable, rare, and inimitable resources and capabilities. I've already identified one of these, which is the centrality of the state to the region and its borders with 4 states. Osun borders 4 states. I will mention some others later, but you can have the best resources in the world if you do not have capacity, and I'm going to emphasize that again, if you do not have capacity, it will only remain as potentials. So again, ODA must not shy away from getting involved when it comes to selecting capacities to administer development in Osun. You must not shy away. Now, the word capabilities is a summary of two concepts. As the late Clayton Christensen explained in his book, How Will You Measure Your Life? These concepts are processes and priorities. Developing the right processes and priorities are what you need to make the best use of your resources. So I go back to my fictional debate project. How should ODA leverage this tool to develop human capacity of the students? Let us agree, for example, that ODA values competitiveness as a process and priority. It then becomes clear that the debate should have Osun State students competing with their peers in the region instead of against one another. Hopefully, it is becoming clearer how the combination of regional integration model and the resource-based theory can help ODA achieve its lofty aspirations. By employing this approach, you'll be able to measure the impact of your interventions and will know what to improve and when to do so. This, I believe, and ODA should agree among themselves for processes and priorities that they will employ to develop the state's resources. At this point, my elders and colleagues, I want to give myself a pat on the back, but knowing the audience that I'm facing this evening with their high standards, I would like to say this, and I crave your indulgence for me to discuss my views about what should be considered as Osun State's resources. When you ask around in policy development cycles about the resources of Osun, you are likely to hear mining, agriculture, tourism, human capital, and the likes. Of course, they are not wrong, but they do not speak of these resources in a manner that positions them as valuable, rare, and non-substitutable. So if I say that Osun has agri potential, well, Osun is not the only state that has that potential. It is possible, therefore, for the state to get lost in the midst of states with agri potential. We must do the hard work of thinking and defining our resources, not at the general overview, but at a deeper level that connects instantly. So for instance, rather than say we have abundant human resources, it would be better to say we have experienced artisans and vast traders. You can see the difference. I can even go deeper by saying we have the best mining artisans in the country and the highest number of expert Toyota mechanics. Defining our resources in accordance with the dictates of VRIN can begin to expose our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strengths. You can now see that business development is not easy, but that is what we must do to lay the foundation for sustainable development. That is what ODA must do. And that is why an organization like DAWN exists. Again, I talked about processes that after identifying our VRIN resources, we now need to start developing the right capabilities for this. There are no hard and fast rules. Each person, group, or society will have to decide what it is. But for ODA, I want to make a case for a few. The first is our code of conduct as Yoruba people. I'm speaking of Omoluabi virtues. We make the mistake of calling for value reorientation as a solution to the rise of social vices in our society. We, however, need to start seeing Omoluabi values as a business tool. As an investor, if I know that the people of Osun State are well-behaved, trustworthy, honest, and hardworking, and there's another location where there's a deficit of character, I know where I will take my business to. Omoluabi is beyond just values. We have to locate it as one of the secrets of our prosperity in Yoruba land. We must therefore place a premium on it by rewarding it in our society. We should organize events that reward, like this, like what we are doing this evening. We should organize events that reward Omoluabi values in people better than the way we organize beauty pageants. Is it not confounding that our societal processes make it easier for a young boy to enter into a betting shop than to go to a farm? I also want to recommend a few development tools that ODA should add to its arsenal. Now, the first is called the Community-Driven Development, and I will have to skip that again because of time. Now, the World Bank-funded Kekmetan Development Program in Indonesia is another example that we can copy. Another tool that can help us develop proven development is Sustainable Livelihoods Approach, SLA, which focuses on understanding and strengthening the diverse assets, human, social, financial, physical, natural, that enables the individuals and communities to pursue sustainable livelihoods. Furthermore, the Integrated Rural Development, IRD, model, as exemplified by the Integrated Rural Development Program in India, underscores the importance of a holistic, multi-sectoral approach to rural development. It is said in business circles that culture will eat strategy for breakfast. If LDA raises 10 billion today and pour everything into a strategic agenda based on the prevailing social culture in our states, no matter how logical or beautiful the strategy is, and I don't care if that strategy is developed by the best consulting firm in the world, it will fail. We must take the difficult way of introducing new social processes into our culture. And the 4 tools I mentioned above can guide us. Priorities. I am on the last lap of my speech, so please. Any organization may have the best resources and processes, but it can still fail if it gets the priorities wrong. The infamous press conference to announce Microsoft's acquisition of Nokia drives this home. Nokia's CEO, Stephen Elop, was quoted to have said, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." A critical analysis of the events that led to Nokia's acquisition will reveal that the company got its priorities wrong. It is therefore important for organizations such as ODA to set the priorities, and I offer again a few suggestions in no particular order of importance. 1, how do we attract private investment into Osun? The first step will be to ensure that the state has a PPP law. Osun is one of the states in southwest Nigeria today that does not have a PPP law. 2, social entrepreneurship. I think Osun will be better off starting with social entrepreneurship, especially those that focus on the attainment of the SDG goals. 3, cooperatives and chambers of commerce. We should prioritize the establishment of these business development tools as part of our business culture in Osun State. And 4, digital infrastructure, particularly the internet. This is an indispensable tool for developing modern human capital, and Elon Musk has brought this to our rural communities now. So rather than go all out for an ambitious industrialization project, we should begin to build our industrial capacity by following these 3 recommended steps. Our state is renowned as a civil service state, and I don't like that, with due respect to civil servants. If we jump straight into industrialization, I fear we are not treading the sustainable pathway. Again, let me summarize all I've said. ODA should set BHAG. ODA should adopt regional integration model, VRN resources. ODA should create new culture and social capacities, and ODA should prioritize enactment of PPP law, investments in digital infrastructure, and social entrepreneurship. So a call for action. Distinguished members, as we stand here today, united in our commitment to the advancement of Osun State, we are faced with a pivotal moment, a crossroads where the path to progress and the path to stagnation diverge. The blueprint for sustainable development that we have outlined today is not merely a collection of lofty ideas, but a concrete, actionable plan that harnesses the collective wisdom and expertise of this esteemed assembly. It is a roadmap that, if embraced and executed with unwavering dedication, can propel Osun State towards a future prosperity, equity, and social harmony. But this is not a task that can be achieved by ODA alone. It will require a concerted efforts of all stakeholders, the governments, the private sector, civil society organizations, and most importantly, the citizens of Osun State. So in whatever we do as ODA, the citizens must be involved. We must carry them along. They must not see us as one esoteric organization, that it's too holy and it's of no earthly use. They must not see us that way. So together, we must forge a shared vision, align our priorities, and pool our resources to bring this blueprint to life. To our esteemed guests and newly inducted members, I invite you to join us in this transformative journey. And I'm glad when Dr. Aino was speaking, that you're bringing in new, younger people. The older ones, your knowledge, your skill is needed. Your experience is needed. The younger ones will only tap into that and bring in their own fresh ideas, but you cannot go away. And I'm glad the Council of Elders is being created for this purpose. So bring your unique perspectives, your innovative ideas, and your boundless energy to the table. Together, let us chart a course that will inspire generations to come, leaving an indelible mark on the history of Osun State. To our founding members and the newly inaugurated Council of Elders, I commend you for your unwavering commitment to this course, because you could easily have given up. You could say, I'm going to Japa, because trust me, I've seen 80-year-old men Japa, which I find that odd, but I've seen them, 80-year-old men. They said, Shayemuti, give up. You are 80, give up. Please, why are you saying you are giving up at 80? Don't give up, please. This is our country. We have nowhere to run to. One of the babas that left at 80, after 1 year, he ran back. He said, so he came back. He's back here in Ibadan. So as I said, to the government of Osun State, we extend a hand of collaboration. Now, this is very important. To the government of Osun State, we extend a hand of collaboration. And I'm glad the governor is represented here today. Very instructive. Because organizations like this must not be seen as partisan or political. Development has no language, has no partisan language. Development has only one language, development. Now, we say at Dawn, one of the reasons Dawn has been growing is because we are non-partisan. The development of Osun is the collective effort of everyone. So whether you are Labour Party or Action Group, God, APGA or whatever, the development of Osun is a concerted effort. Agbajo one, Lafin Soya. And again, I say, let me repeat that. For emphasis, I said to the government of Osun, we extend a hand of collaboration. For it's only through a spirit of partnership and mutual understanding that we can truly unlock the full potential of our beloved state. Partisan politics and development must be mutually exclusive. The only language development understands is bipartisanship, an environment where we are all contributing our little bit in collaboration and not competition. Let us work in lockstep, aligning our efforts and ensuring that the fruits of our labor are justly distributed among all our citizens. The time for action is now. Let us leave the rhetoric behind and embrace the pioneering spirit that has long defined the people of Osun. Let us roll up our sleeves, sharpen our minds, and pour our hearts into the realization of this bold blueprint for sustainable development. For in doing so, we will not only transform the physical landscape of Osun State, but we will also forge a future where every citizen is empowered to reach their full potential. When opportunities abound, and where the promise of better tomorrow is not merely a dream, but a tangible reality. And just before I finish again, I want to thank ODA for investing in education. Last year, they commissioned a study to look at primary education in Osun. Fantastic thing. It was that study that led us at Dawn to convene a meeting of all the Southwest commissioners about a month ago. The underpinning idea for that summit was what ODA did. That's fantastic, and we need to see more of that. Don't come, I'm about to finish, don't worry. I've only got 2 more lines to read. So I stand before you today, filled with unwavering optimism and a steadfast belief in the domitable spirit of Osun. Let us together embark on this journey of pioneering progress and write a new chapter in the annals of our state's history. About 70 years ago now, some people sat in a room somewhere in western Nigeria. About 70 years ago, 7 decades ago. So let that sink in. Some people sat in a room somewhere in western Nigeria and envisioned a building we all call Cocoa House today. Construction took like 7 years. And in 1965, the building was commissioned for use. 60 years later, that building still stands strong as a testament to the heights, both figuratively and literally, we once reached as Yoruba. The power of vision gave birth to such an enduring legacy. And apart from the federal government of Nigeria, no subnational or state government has given us anything close to that structure in 60 years. So it is that vision of 70 years ago, that vision, not thinking of till now, that I will implore us at ODA to deploy as we envision and dream of a new Osun. It is doable. It is possible. Indeed, it has become a necessary imperative if we want to have a place we can be proud of in the near future that we call home. We cannot abandon that space. And what we are doing today shows that we are not going to abandon the state. We will put in all our energy. The potentials are there to turn that state into, of course, it's a gold mine already. It's only that the benefits are going somewhere else. But I want to thank you for putting this together. And I want to thank the organizers for honoring our older ones and also inducting new ones. Because the task, as I said, for rebuilding Osun belongs to every one of us. Once again, Agbajowo la fi n sọ̀yà o. Ọwọ́ kan ò dẹ̀ gbẹ́rù dórí. So we really need to collaborate. Once again, I want to thank the organizers for inviting me. And thank you. May Osun State's future shine brighter than ever before.